What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talk Punch. Thanks so much for joining us. Now, whether you're watching us here on YouTube or listening in on the audio podcast, make sure you go ahead and subscribe. Our goal is to get to 100 subscribers so we can get a custom URL. That's the goal. So help us out. Just hit the subscribe button. It's good. And then come back here every Wednesday to see what we're talking about, kind of like this week's episode. We are talking our top 3 good start but bad ending to TV shows. I am Brody Hanson, joined by Charlie Hickman and Tudong Dylan. Guys, how's it going?
Excellent. Excited.
Well. Yeah. I'm really curious about you guys' list. I think we're going to have crossovers.
I agree.
Are we going to have any triple crossovers? I don't know. I think for sure at least one of or two of us are going to cross over.
I don't think you guys have any of mine on your list.
What was that? Charlie, you don't think so?
I don't think so.
I figured you and I would cross over at least. What were you saying?
I'm sure we will agree.
I would say that our swords shall cross on several of these lists. That's what I say. I would actually be very surprised if my number 1 wasn't on your list at all, Charlie. At all. I'd be very surprised.
Interesting. All right, well.
We gonna jump in?
I am ready. I'm successfully curious. Let's do this.
Let's jump in then. Because
me.
Let's
go, sir.
I'm really curious. All right.
Who's going first?
I believe it is Tudong. You are up first. All
okay.
Right. So you're number 3.
My number 3. Huh? My number 3 pick is the show 24. It started off really well. Really, the entire season was excellent, and then it slowly kind of tapered off. I can't actually remember watching the actual end. He gets captured, he gets not captured, he's dead, he's alive. I don't know. But that first season, the stakes weren't cataclysmic. It made it seem a lot more real, and every time after that, it started to get a lot crazy. But yeah, excellent beginning. Fizzled out on the ending.
I never saw the ending to this.
Yeah, I think I did. I may have. I can't even remember if I saw it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I remember getting the DVDs and I hadn't watched a single episode, and I put that first disc in and I started at like midnight or something, and I watched like the first
always a good
4 episodes in a row, and I was like, well, I got to put the next disc in. I got to see what happens. So I think I ended up staying up all night just watching the first like 8 episodes or so of 24. But I much like you gentlemen, I did not make it to the last season. My boy Kiefer. I'm sorry, Keith. I let him down.
Yeah, right.
Well.
All right, moving on to my number 2.
Number 3.
Sorry, number 3. Sleepy Hollow. Did either of you watch this show? I
have not.
I think I saw a few episodes of the first season, but that was about it.
So first season was good. I really enjoyed it. I'm a fan of the Sleepy Hollow like lore and all that stuff. And so when they were like, "Oh, we're gonna have a Sleepy Hollow. It's gonna be kind of spooky. It's gonna be kind of funny. It's gonna be set in the modern day," I was like, "Sweet, I'm in." Watched the first season, enjoyed it. Second season was all right. Not as good as the first. And then they just started going through showrunners, and like season 3 was horrible to get through. And then season 4, they got a whole new showrunner, and they totally changed the show. And all of a sudden, it's not in Sleepy Hollow; it's in like Washington D.C. And one of the main characters is dead, so they bring in like this other person. And this was one show where I was like, "Oh gosh, I just want this show to end." I don't know why I kept watching, but I don't know, just a morbid curiosity. But I was like, when they announced the cancellation, I was like, "Oh, thank goodness."
Finally dead. Finally.
Did the guy ever get his head back? The headless guy?
Yeah, he got his head back, and then I think he lost it again.
Oh my goodness.
like
You know, if you're out there and you're watching this, you need to be careful with your head, because if you lose it, it is very hard to find.
Man, yeah.
But I thought it was nice, like weird love story that they had with the headless guy, and then he's trolling to find his head. It was interesting.
Yeah, it was cool. And then season 4 came, and there was like even more time travel and people coming from the future, and yeah,
and they're all headless.
It fell apart. It fell apart. And it was a bummer, because I really enjoyed that first season. So there is my number 3.
But it had the guy from the 7-Up commercials in there. The Show Me Your Can guy.
Really? Ooh.
If I knew the actor's name off the top of my head, I would have gone with that. But
I don't know.
7-Up commercial. You Google it.
Okay.
You know, if you're out there.
All right. Well,
and you're curious, show me your can 7-Up commercial guy.
While you are going over your top 3, I will do that.
All right. So my number 3 is the TV show Chuck.
That's a good one.
It's a cute, charming show. Likable leads, nice chemistry, a fun array of background characters with plenty of kind of humorous moments. Good action sequences, cheesy, absolutely, but like a nice little pleasant show. And look, spoilers right now, because there's no way for me to talk about why this is on my list without spoiling it. So if you do not want to see Chuck spoilers, go ahead and just scrub past here until you see the new poster pop up. But if you're still with me, you build up for 5 seasons with these 2 characters. Their love story is like one of the central themes of the show. And then the last 2 episodes, they just erase her memory. Erase it. And so the show ends. She doesn't know who he is. They're like on a beach, and he's like, and they're married. And he's like, hey, you're my wife. And she's like, I don't know you. I mean, it's not quite as simplistic as that. But I mean, it's the equivalent of the waking up and it's all a dream ending. It erased the totality of everything that they've been through in the show. I can't even rewatch it. It took all the joy out of all these moments. You essentially kill the character. I mean, you really do. You're both married men. Imagine that your wife wakes up tomorrow, has no memory of the entire time, not just you, but the entirety of time between before she met you and then to that point. And you're trying to just be like, hey, okay, well, first of all, we're married. We have a lot of kids. Second of all, let me catch you up on some current events that you missed over the last, 5 to 7 years. It's just like and they're trying to spin it like it's cute. Like now they get to fall in love all over again. Like as if like that was the treasure instead of like all the growth and he's a different person. Anyway, it was just like such an incredible middle finger, I think, to fans of the show. And if you haven't seen it, you want to watch it, just stop like a few episodes before. Really sweet proposal, really nicely done. But now I can't even think about that getting a little angry. Terrible ending. One of the worst I've ever seen. In fact, one of the top 3.
Oh man, that's hardcore.
That's hardcore.
By the way, it was Orlando Jones is who you were talking about.
That's the name. Oh, yes, yeah. It was there. It was floating around, ping-ponging in my brain somewhere. Show me your can.
Yeah, make 7 up yours. Yep, I remember that now.
Yeah, see? Yeah, you got it.
All right.
Commercials.
Moving right along to number 2. Tudong, your number 2.
My number 2 was the TV show Heroes.
Oh, I thought about putting this on my list.
I'll say this. I didn't start watching it until after like the first season. Talk and RJ, they loved the first season. They would actually stop everything and be like, hey, this is on. We got to watch it. And I always found that kind of curious. When I finally did watch it, I thought the beginning was great. I loved the first season, as a matter of fact. I will admit that after the first season, it fell completely apart. There were, they had all sorts of possibilities that they just decided to just throw away. And then just start something new. I think they did the same thing you were talking about, bro, with showrunners. It seems like every season it is something completely different. Never on the good side, though. And the ending was just ridiculous. I was very displeased. I almost didn't even want to watch the last season because the season finale right before that upset me a bit. they killed off a character, and instead of using the cheerleader's blood, which healed a person, spoilers by the way, if you don't care about that, healed a regular individual who was shot through the head. One of the other people whose neck was just cut, they don't think, hey, let's just apply some more of this blood. No, they think we're going to just hypnotize this bad guy into pretending that he's... It just... The whole thing just fell apart in my eyes. I didn't care for it at all. But that first beginning, that season 1, unbelievable start to a horrible ending.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this when it started. And yeah, it did. It fell apart really badly. What was that, Charlie?
And I was just saying, if Dylan's description of what he was trying to say there was confusing to you, then yes, that is the spirit of what they were trying to do, because it was wildly confusing. It didn't make a whole lot of sense. And I didn't watch this when it was on. I thought, oh, you know what? I've never seen this. It was like on a streaming service. So I was like, I'll finally get around to checking it out. And yeah, I started kind of hate watching the second season. And at some point it was just like, all right, life's too short.
Yeah,
let's move on.
I was watching this as it was coming out. And so I would, I got all excited for season 2, and then it was kind of like, okay, and
there were so many possibilities.
Yeah.
These cool things they could have just ran with, and they just didn't.
Yeah.
I have no clue. No clue.
Yeah. This almost made my list, so this is a good choice, Tudong.
Thank you very much.
All right, my number 2. Now, this has got to be on somebody else's list, right? No? This didn't make anybody else's list? Oh, my
I'll be
goodness.
honest, I've never seen one season, one episode of this.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See, this was one that me and my wife binged when it came to Netflix. We didn't watch it when it was actually going on. And so we just went through the whole thing. And even binge watching it, it started getting so confusing on like why things were happening. I can only imagine the people that were watching this when it was actually coming out and having to go, like wait from season to season, because I couldn't follow what was going on by the end. And then it ends and you're like, wait, is that the end? Like, what does that mean? What just happened? And it's kind of like, I don't know. And it was like, I don't understand. I don't get it. Like, there's weird time shifts. There's multiple. It was so confusing. And like, the first season was great, and it had all this intrigue and all this mystery, and they're on the island and the smoke and the monsters and all this stuff. And then, man, like that, the last maybe 2 seasons were just like, what is happening right now? I don't understand it. I don't get it. So, I still couldn't tell you what the ending meant. I don't know, man.
Purgatory, bro. Purgatory.
I haven't watched it, and even I knew that. Yeah, purgatory.
Were they dead? Were they alive? Were they all dead? Did they die in the plane crash? Did they die?
Yeah, the answer is
on?
Yes.
Just, I don't know.
That's Lindelof writing right there.
I don't know. So this one,
yeah, that one went off the rails hard.
Yeah.
I thought Heroes went off the rails hard. No, this, yeah.
Well, they created this like really intriguing lore, and they kept building on the lore, and it was almost like, we've had this talk about like the new Star Wars franchise, where like they had like a really good idea to start, but then they just didn't bother to think, maybe we should plan the whole thing out, like how this is going to end, and what would our middle be like? It's like they came up with this concept, and they, after a few seasons, like, wow, this is really popular. We should start talking about how we're going to end this. And then they kind of like started getting a room with like a whiteboard, and we're like, okay, so what have we done so far? And then so it was just like they kind of built it up, and then they kind of ended with like a basic kind of like fan theory from like the very first episode. Like, people are like, oh, they're probably what they're doing. Like they're like, oh, get online, let's find out what did fans think the ending was going to be when it first came out, and then we'll kind of build backwards from there. If we make it confusing enough, people will think it's smart. This one almost made my list. I didn't. By the time it ended, I was just so done with the show that it just didn't have like I didn't have enough of an emotional attachment for it to like leave a mark. It was just like it's been garbage for so long. But yeah, you're right. It was a a real plane crash there at the end, if you will.
Now,
got lost in the plot.
Charlie, you bring up an interesting thing because you compared this to the new Star Wars, which was also kind of started by J.J. Abrams. Maybe is it a J.J. Abrams thing? Does he just not like planning things in the long run? He's kind of like, I'm focusing on season 1, or I'm focusing on the first movie, and we'll figure it out later.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine him going into a pitch meeting for the show and being like, "Okay, check this out: plane crash, island. They wake up, there's mystery." And the execs are like, yeah, go, all right, let's do this. And it's just like a pitch, like an elevator pitch. And then they go for it without like thinking, and here's the lore behind it. There's going to be a smoke monster, but also not. There's going to be numbers, but what will they mean? Perhaps nothing, perhaps everything. It's just like, I feel like he's good at, maybe really good at selling ideas, but maybe just has trouble, having them to fruition. I don't know. Just a theory.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Well, there's my number 2, Lost. Charlie, how about your number 2? I'm curious.
Oh man, my number 2, Deep Scars. Deep Scars, boys.
I thought about this one too.
I thought about this one as well.
I don't get wrapped up in characters and TV shows very often. I mean, it's TV. I get it. It's a movie. Some of the choices they make, I'm going to agree with. Some I'm going to disagree with, and I tend to be pretty pragmatic about these kinds of things. I'm not going to like every ending. I'm not going to like every character choice. I'm not going to like all the writing, and that's okay. But this one left a real mark. I was a young lad watching the Twin Peaks, and okay, spoiler again. If you'd like to not know how Twin Peaks ends, go ahead and skip past me.
Just go to the next timestamp. Everything's timestamped, so just go.
And we did say these were going to be endings.
Man, yeah, Dale Cooper was like just the best character, and I just loved him. I thought he's funny, and he's just like. I don't know. It was this was the first show that I'd ever seen that like where the story was just continuous, right? Sure. And so you're just kind of like really sucked into this world, and then he's going into the lodge to save Heather Graham, and he's just fighting evil, and then he makes it out, and then he's sitting in his bathroom and he's smashing his face against the mirror. There's blood dripping down, and he's cackling, and then you understand that this is the evil Dale, and oh my gosh, the Dale we love is trapped inside this mystical lodge, and then the show just freaking ends, and it's just over, and that's it. That's all you get. That's the end, and then they say, okay, we're gonna do 3 movies. And these movies are going to give you a finality and a conclusion to what happened to Dale Cooper. So it starts with Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, and it's a freaking prequel. A prequel. And so it doesn't do well in the theaters. And they're like, well, we're going to scrap the other movies. So Dale's still just trapped in the lodge. So then 2017 rolls around, and Twin Peaks comes back.
Yeah.
And finally, we're going to get Dale out of the lodge. He's going to be okay. And episode 17, it feels like this is going to be happy. This is the ending. They're going to do it. And then episode 18 rolls along, and they yank it away, and they leave you in an emotional mess. And Laura Palmer is screaming, and they're in some other timeline. He saves her from being murdered, but only in one timeline, and now they're jumped to some other. And it's confusing, and it's irritating, and it's so depressing. Oh my gosh, the new Twin Peaks had these long, moody shots of just heart-wrenching depression and scenery. And it just ends, and it feels like someone just took all the emotional, whatever you had inside, just yanked it all out and left you there just a shell of yourself. Poor Dale Cooper. And now they're not going to give us any more. He just can't be happy. Just give the man a piece of pie and a cup of coffee and just leave him alone.
Yeah, I didn't see the 2017 season. I
need to watch it again. This is just your number 2. I can't wait till we hear number 1.
All right.
The ending of the new one, and I just remember sitting there just like, just still, I'm not freezing. I'm just like, I just had nothing. There was nothing to say. It's like, did I love this? Did I love the new season? Did I hate it? Was it the best thing I've ever seen? Was it the worst? I don't know. Yeah. I need to watch it again. But I don't want to. I can't, but I need to, but I have to, and I must, but I won't because I literally cannot.
And this is David Lynch for you,
Yeah.
David Lynch. That's how you know you watched the David Lynch vehicle.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm confused, borderline angry, but also, was it genius?
Is it my fault?
Yeah, it's me, right? It's on me.
All right, number one, Tudong. What's your number one?
Number one. Unbelievable start, but the finish was moonlighting. I absolutely loved this show. In fact, I remember watching it when I was a kid, and then I remember revisiting it when you had gotten these DVDs, Charlie. You lent it to me, and we'd watch them and all that kind of thing. I don't even think I borrowed the last season from you because it was already getting like at first. I mean, they had everything. They had pizzazz. They had wit. They had a genius Bruce Willis and Sybil Shepherd relationship, even though they didn't care for each other at all. All of that mixed together somehow just made this genius heat and funny and all that kind of stuff. He's in no way like a cool action tough guy, and neither is she. And after, it's like they didn't know where to go after they get together, and it just, we don't know. They're together, they're not together. I can't even remember how it ended. And I didn't care when I saw it the first time, and I didn't watch it now. I couldn't tell you what the last episode, what happens. I don't think I've still seen it. That's how bad and not off the rails in a wacky, weird, like, kind of a way, just like in a boring, I don't want to see this anymore kind of a way. Like, what have I done? What have they done? All of this, come on, Maddie, you know? It was just unbelievable chemistry and everything. And they dropped it on the floor.
A lot of people. This was one of those shows where I feel like the buzz around it was that the show was bad because they got them together, and that simply just wasn't true.
That's true. That's also
they got them together, and then they separated the characters, and she's like somewhere else, and they still are having these petty squabbles, and it was like the writing was just atrocious, the chemistry was completely non-existent, and it wasn't like as simple as, well, they kissed and they got together. It was like, well, all right, now that they're together, how do we ruin the show as quickly as possible? Let's make these characters, let's make both of them unlikable, and let's make her really, and Sybil Shepherd and Bruce Willis hated each other, and I feel like it really came through in the show. It just was weird. But I mean, I don't know. This is like if you get Jim and Pam together and suddenly you give him a job in like a different city and he's like out there,
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that the show got, was worse because they got together. I mean, like a lot of shows on Frasier, Niles and Daphne got together and it was fine. Like, you see their relationship grow.
It was great.
Castle, they got together, their relationship grew. I thought it was great till the end, of course. That almost made that list. Castle was
that was another show where the two leads just hated each other, and it just kind of like ruined the show. Like, why? I don't understand how they hated each other so deeply that by the end they were in separate trailers. They were trying to minimize the screen time as much. They were creating excuses for why those characters couldn't be in the same scene at the same time. I mean, I don't know. Well, I don't know what happened there, but they should have just gone to like couples therapy or something, like get the actors into some therapy or something.
Yeah, that was one of the rumors with Sleepy Hollow as well, was that the two main leads just hated working with each other. All right, number one, Charlie. I am pretty confident that me and you are crossing over on number ones.
Oh, okay.
Are we crossing over?
We are not.
What? Whoa.
Yeah, he's crossing over with me.
All right, I have no idea what your number one is then, because I put this and I was like, oh, this is totally Charlie's number one. All right, well, my number one is Game of Thrones, the number one example in like almost everybody else except Charlie's mind of shows that started amazingly cultural phenomenons. Everybody's talking about a silly fantasy show that's all about politics and kings and this world, and there's this looming threat to season 8 where everything is rushed and characters are different, and it just, I don't think there was anybody that liked the way this show ended. Even even George R.R. Martin is like, that's not how the books are going to end. Don't
if I ever get around to finishing these books, I'm going to do it different. In the year 2050, when I finally write the last book here.
The whole threat of the knights, the what are they called? Frozen. What are they called? I keep wanting to call them Night's Watch. No, not Knights of the Old Republic.
The Jedi Knights.
Oh, Frost Giants.
No, not the Frost Giants. The guy that's on there.
Tauntauns.
I want to call him the Night's Watch, but that's not what it is.
Is it some kind of a skinwalker thing?
Yeah, they're skinwalkers. That's it.
He's a shadow walker.
You guys are no help at all.
I haven't seen one episode of this either, bro.
Oh, okay. Well, Charlie's just leaving me out to dry here. So these guys are the threat that's looming over all these seasons of the walkers are coming and they're gonna take over. And then so
he's the Game of Thrones.
And then in one episode, they just randomly kill him off. It's like there was all these theories of he's gonna make it all the way to King's Landing, and it's gonna be this big to do over this guy and the other people that are claiming to be king.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even make it to the main place. They just kill it. My goodness. And man, I tried to defend this so bad after it ended, and I was like, maybe I could see how that would make sense. But the more that I think of, I'm like, it doesn't make sense. Man, what a disappointing ending. What a disappointing ending this show was. So.
It was super disappointing. It was so rushed. It's like they slow played it. So I remember watching that first episode, and you have that breathtaking moment where you first kind of start to understand there's some mythical things happening here. Some pretty terrifying creatures that exist out in these woods. And then the rest of the season they don't mention it at all.
White Walkers. That's what they are. They're White Walkers, and that's the Night King. Yes, that's what it is. Screw you all for not helping me.
The whole thing is so beautifully slow played, and then the last 4 episodes are like, well, we got about 3 seasons and we got 4 episodes. Why don't we cram this all in here? Let's do this. And they made these wild character swings that don't make any sense because they didn't set them up to make sense. So it's just kind of maybe if you give me another couple seasons and we start to see a little bit of this, but it'd be kind of like, Dylan, just because since you haven't seen this, it'd be a little bit like if you're watching Phantom of the Menace, right? And you see little Anakin Skywalker, and he's like, hey, that thing, they end the battle there, and he's talking to Jar Jar, and then he's like, hey, can you hand me that lightsaber? And then he takes the lightsaber and he starts killing people. And all of a sudden he's Darth Vader. He's a kid. He was very happy, and then all of a sudden now he's evil and he's crazy for no particular reason. And maybe not quite that drastic, but just the change was so bizarre in the character. They didn't set it up at all. Wow. You want to sell me that character can turn that kind of drastic? Sure, set it up, make it believable. And I don't think they did a very good job of that.
I mean, season 1, they have people traveling for 3 episodes to get from one place to the other. Oh. The last season, people are traveling in 5 minutes. They're like, oh man, I gotta travel across the country, and then the next scene they're there.
Yep, I got a place to be,
and it's
and then
all right, well that doesn't make sense, but okay. So there's my number 1.
They're phoning that in. Yeah,
by far is Game of Thrones.
Yeah, this one was on my list for a long time, and then
shocked that it wasn't.
My number 1. Hey, there it is.
Oh, okay.
Oh!
And I'm even wearing the Dexter shirt, so I thought I was kind of giving that away a little bit. This last season, look, this show was up and down. This show was really up and down. But the first season, I just absolutely loved, and Michael C. Hall, that man can do no wrong in my eyes. If you're watching this, and I know you are, he is our 40th subscriber, and Michael and I go way back. I've enjoyed his work for a long time. I just think he's one of the greatest actors that's out there working right now, and he's just a beautiful soul. But even he could not save this last season. And these seasons, there's some of these seasons up leading up to this last season were a little up and down, some breathtaking moments, some really fun stuff, some really horrible stuff, some really poorly written stuff. But the last season felt like a spec script written by a fan, sent in to a bunch of people who had never seen the show, and then said, okay, let's do this. And they just started filming it, and it was stupid and predictable in ways that were maddening and frustrating. And it's like they had no idea who the characters were. Like, is this something that Dexter would do? Should we have seen the first few seasons here? Should we have watched any of that stuff? Do we need to know anything before we start filming this? No? Okay, great. We'll make these characters make really outlandish choices, and we'll do these things. What can we get a big storm that looks really fake? Could we have Dexter sail directly into it after he steals his sister's body from the hospital and just goes out into the storm? Can we have that? Can we have him with his lady friends going to raise his kid in Argentina while he's like, see ya, I'm gonna ride into the storm? Could we make him a bearded lumberjack at the end? Is that possible? Is that something that we could do? Okay, this is great. I mean, I can't even imagine being in the pitch room or the writer's room for this final season, and they're putting these ideas down on paper and thinking, this is good. This is really good. People's minds are gonna be blown when the last scene and he's a lumberjack. Oh my gosh, people are gonna be talking about this. They are gonna be so excited. They're gonna be thrilled. I mean, how do they not know that this is gonna be like talked about for they had to bring the show. The show ending was so bad. They're like, we need to bring the show back. This new version of Dexter may not be any good, but it will give people something else to talk about other than how bad the ending of our last show was. And it was so like when my uncle passed away, I was in Nebraska visiting him when he was sick, and he was just, and we're watching like a movie together, and he just starts fast forwarding, and he gives me this life advice. He says, just watch the stuff you like. Just get to the good parts. And after he passed away, that's something that stuck with me. And when I'm watching the last season of Dexter, and I'm grabbing my remote, and I'm going, fast forward. I can't watch another second of this scene. I just need to get to the next scene. And there was like moments where it was so painful and so frustrating to watch, but I just wanted to get to the ending that I just had to like skip some scenes. I had to fast forward. Anyway, it was just straight. The whole season was a straight up dumpster fire. And let me be honest here. The show would have been better if Dexter had moved city to city. It became less and less realistic that this serial killer was just working with all these great detectives year in and year out, and they're kind of like, and they, it's just like the whole premise would have been better if they didn't try to. It's like they didn't know what to do with him. Like, is he the Punisher from the Marvel comics? Is he like a superhero who just kind of fights injustice? Like, the whole first season was interesting because it was kind of like this juxtaposition of like how he's a serial killer, but also he's like trying not to be just a mindless serial killer, trying to do good things with it. And then it just kind of like they took it and almost made him like dun, da, da, da. And it was just weird. And anyway,
gotcha.
I really liked the show, but by the end of it, I was glad it was done. And I don't think I really have any interest in watching the new ones. But
no,
if I ever get Showtime, I'll probably check it out. But anyway,
there you go.
Terrible. At least the Twin Peaks ending, I watched it and I thought, David Lynch is a genius. This is my fault. This ending, I was like, give me three friends who've never seen the show, and we could write a better season than this.
Oh,
just the three of us. You guys have never seen it. One episode. I don't care. It's the same. They didn't watch a single episode. They wrote it. We could do it.
Man,
thank you.
That's rough. All right. Well, there you go. There is our top 3 each. Good start, bad finish. Probably won't be the actual title of the video. I got to come up with that. Something catchy. There you go.
That was catchy at the end there. What you just said.
Charlie's number 2 will shock you.
Brody, it started good, but by the time you were done with it, it was no good.
Yeah, I know. There you go. All right.
Well, hey, if you enjoyed today at all, if you liked some passionate ranting mixed in with some amusable laughs, there's a word. Go ahead and click some more of our content below. Feel free to like and subscribe. It would mean a lot. Michael C. Hall, thank you for being our 40th subscriber. You are a mensch and a beautiful, beautiful man.
Sure.
I hope the new season of Dexter is good. Can't be worse than the last one.
All right. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.